exactly.
Oh. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters. It's a beautiful day. We're expecting snow on Wednesday morning. Can you believe that? Our fall summer is over. It's supposed to be down to 15 degrees even. So with that, I would, oh, you know what? The president's supposed to call the meeting to order. She's not here, is she?
Well, that's
Thanks for volunteering. I didn't want to be president this morning.
You did great.
You did good.
All right, perfect. Well, we're good. I would like to introduce myself as the Toastmaster today.
That works.
And Eric, would you like to read the club mission this morning with a lot of enthusiasm?
Oh, thank you. The mission of Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has an opportunity to develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth.
Yay!
Hey.
Thank you very much, Eric. All right, with that, let's bring on our joke and quote master who, shoot, I have little X's over everyone's name. Yeah, see if I can get that fixed here real fast. All right, looks like Mary had the joke and word of the day. I have a quote that I would like to pitch in, and that is, don't let short-term problems influence long-term decisions.
Yay.
Who has a joke for us?
I do. I want to let everybody know, yesterday, I grilled a chicken for 2 hours. And it still didn't tell me why it crossed the road.
Oh! And it was black. 2 hours. Thank you, Jim. All right, word of the day. Anybody want to jump up with one there?
Oh, here comes Mary.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
Here comes Mary. So, yay, Mary's here.
Yay.
Mary,
And we just need the word of the day, Mary.
we already filled in for a joke and a quote.
So
Well, we would love to hear your joking quote, though, if you have one.
Yeah, why not?
My joke is, I just woke up.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was one of those nights where I just kind of didn't want to sleep. And then when I did sleep, I slept good. Word of the day. Oh, boy. So I can't check. So we're going to go this way. By the way, I saw a good movie yesterday.
Oh, what was it?
The Batman. The newest one.
Isn't that like 3 hours long? I didn't want to go watch it.
Yeah, it is. It is. So the word of the day is riddle. R-I-D-D-L-E. A puzzling question posed as a problem. That is the word of the day. Riddle. I'll put it in the chat.
All right. Thank you, Mary. All right. Well, at this time, I would like to riddle my general evaluator, Eric, and have him describe his role and what he's going to do today.
Thank you very much. And as general evaluator, I'll be keeping track of the meeting and making sure everything runs smoothly. I have a team set forth to aid me. And at the end of the meeting, I'll call them up for their reports and I'll deliver my own. Let's see here. We have, to introduce my team, we have Jim as timer. So he'll be timing his own speech today. Jim, can you describe your role for us?
Yes, as timer, I will keep track of all speeches, all evaluations, and all table topics. And when you've met the minimum time, you'll see green background. When you have halfway between the beginning of the speech and the ending of the speech, halfway through, you'll see the yellow background. And then when you're at the end of your speech, you will see the red background and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap it up. That is my job as the timer. And I'm also the vote counter. So be sure and send me. Don't make riddles for me. Okay. Don't make riddles for me. Be sure and send me your votes. And you can do that in chat. Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator.
Well, thank you, Jim. That'll help me out a lot with keeping the meeting going smoothly. And for grammarian, we have a grammarian today that'll help me keep track of things, and that will be Darlene. Darlene, can you describe your role?
Actually, we switched it to Lee because I'm.
Oh, yes. I knew that. I was looking off the email that was pulled in from me. Lee will be grammarian today, and she will be helping me. Can you describe your role?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for volunteering me to be your odd counter grammarian. I almost forgot and forgot to put Jim and Greg saying the word of the day. And if you said it already, you may have to prompt me to remind me to. It's one of the jobs that I dread to do. I can do timer, I can do Toastmaster, but odd counter grammarian is very hard for me. I have to listen very hard to everybody's sayings. And so the word of the day is riddle, and I will be counting how many times you use it. And I will look for ahs and ums as your odd counter and grammarian. Look for word usage and note any awkward or misuse of the language. And look for any space fillers as well. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Eric.
Thank you very much, Lee. And now we can hand the meeting back over to the Toastmaster for our lovely speech prepared for this meeting.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric. And Jim, I'd be happy to time your speech if you would like me to.
Go ahead.
All right. I won't make you time your own, huh? All right. Jim's speech is on effective coaching, building a social media presence. His speech is titled, How to Clean a Clock. And he will tell us how to clean a clock and how through his social media presence, he has acquired more clocks to clean and repair. Please welcome Jim Marquardt, Distinguished Toastmaster, to the virtual lectern. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. It is a great honor to give you my experience as a cleaner of movements. I do not clean clocks, although I've had people threaten to clean my clock when I said something they didn't like. Clocks are a whole object. If you have a clock, you have a cabinet, you have a dial, and you have a movement. People say, well, I have a clock here. Well, yes, in one sense, they do have a clock because it's a whole unit. But that one unit, and this might confuse you. Of course, there's many riddles to cleaning a movement. But the thing that's most important is when someone says to you, well, I need my clock clean, what they're really saying is, I need to have the movement clean. The reason I start doing this cleaning of the movements is so that people would know that I can do just more than shoot a gun or make salsa or make jam. And what got me into cleaning movements is I was offered a grandfather clock. And the offer was, if you fix this grandfather clock or you clean it, you can have it until you pass away, and then we'd like it to go back to the family. Mind you, I am not an expert in cleaning movements. However, I've learned a lot of things about a movement, about the clock, and about grandfather clocks, and about mantle clocks, about wall clocks. And the most important thing is they generally have the same movement, whether it's made by Hermle, Klingelor, or an Indian movement. They're pretty much designed the same way. When I take a clock apart, I'm not worried about the movement, whether it's dirty or it's clean. Most of the movements that I see, the movements are dirty. And as you notice, I have gloves on. And the reason I have gloves on is because the movement I'm going to show you is clean. And it's really, really important that when you handle a movement, and especially after you've cleaned it, that you do not have your oily hands on it. And you say, my hands aren't oily. Well, yes, there is oil in your hands, and it can actually collect the dirt. And remember your parents always saying, wash your hands, wash your hands. Well, there was a reason they had you wash your hands. This is about the only time that I really look white with white gloves. And this is what comes. Oh, there's one of the clocks that I fixed. And you know I fixed it because it's dinging. And it dings the right time. And which should have said correctly, it gonged at the right time. Some have bells, some have gongs, some have just a little bit of noise. The movement I want to show you today, this is an Indian movement. This was made by people in India. And I don't know if you can see it, but the butterfly moved a little bit. And again, when you touch a movement, you want to have rubber gloves on. This movement has been put in a cleaning solution for 5 minutes, and it's been put in a rinse solution for 5 minutes. And you say, Jim, what's the riddle here? Why only 5 minutes? The thing about it is, you look at this, and there's a plating. It's gold plating. And if you leave that in the wash cycle too long, you can actually eat that plating away. And in every little movement, there is bushings in here. And you can actually deteriorate the bushing by leaving it in the cleaning solution. This is a standard movement for a mantle clock. And each movement can be a different size, but they still run on the same principle, gears. And if you look at this one here, you see this one here? This one has springs, okay? If I can, there we go. This one has springs. The one that I first repaired ran off a chain. Another movement that I'm working on has cables. I prefer to work on the movements that have cables, or excuse me, rather chains rather than cables, because cables have a tendency to twist when you pull the weights off. This one you wind up, there's a winder here, and the cables, you draw the weights down or you lift the weights up to make the movement tick. And someone asked me, they says, well, can you fix my grandmother clock? And he says, do you work on grandmother clocks? Well, believe it or not, grandfathers are more important than grandmothers, but they do make grandmother clocks. And if you look real close, you can see this is actually working. That means I've done my job. And when you've cleaned the clock, when you've cleaned the movement, rather, when it starts moving by itself, then you know that you've done the job right. This cleaning of the movement, I charge $75. The standard fee is $150, and that's only for cleaning and oiling. The recommended time is you clean it every 5 years and you oil it every 2 to 3 years. And most of the time, the reason a movement does not work is because it's dirty. It's not because the parts are worn out, but it's because it's dirty. Now, I have one other movement that I'm working on that it needs a verge, which makes the escape wheel turn. The verge makes the escape wheel turn, which runs the whole system. And I did have to order that part. This is just a small portion of what I've been doing since I've been cleaning movements. I've cleaned 9 movements with the success of all the movements working. And that has been because of social media advertising the work that I've done. And again, if you know of anybody that needs a movement worked on, let me know. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jim. I love hearing about your clocks because my grandpa has a huge collection of them as well, and he tinkers with them. But I never see him soaking them and cleaning them with, like you just mentioned. So maybe I'll have to ask him how he does that. All right. Well, at this time, we're going to move on to table topics, which is Mary this morning. So I will pass it over to you. Take it away, Mary. Riddle us.
Table topics. When will this winter ever end? There's one or two table topics. Books. I have a thing for books. I have a brother who likes to read them on his Kindle. I have another brother, or both of them like to listen to them on tape when they're driving somewhere. And I'm the only one of the three of us that likes to actually have a book in my hand to read. I laid a book. And let's start with Lee.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. I am like your brothers. I like audiobooks, but I do walk a lot, and I listen to the books while I'm walking. So I can listen to a book for about, depending on how far I go, from 30 minutes to about 45 minutes, I'll listen to a book. But I have started reading the Bible and doing a daily devotional as well as Bible reading. So I'm using, I think it's CBN app, but I get an email from them saying which Bible reading to read for the day. But I can also listen to that as well. So what I'm going back and reading those passages I had just able in a year. So wish me luck on that. I have not made my day going is listening to the Bible, reading it, and reading my daily devotional. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Lee. My brother I haven't really looked at it, but I know where it's at. So, pertaining to books, I have about 3 favorite authors. Kristen Brighton, as you just saw, Mercedes Lackey, and Anne McCaffrey. Yes, they're all sci-fi fantasy books. I'm a sci-fi fantasy person, but not of the violent stuff when it comes to reading. But so, Eric, what type of book do you like to read?
Thank you, Mary. So the books that I prefer reading are usually either history or science, something I can just pick up, read a little bit of, and then don't have to pick up and start from the exact same spot, really, I don't know. I'm really more, I don't like fiction and nonfiction. My dad gave me a book to read, and it has to do with history, Andersonville, which is right beside me, and it's a story about it's a nonfiction, or excuse me, it's a fictional story based on non-fictional events. So it's a story about rebel prisons in the Civil War, and I could barely get going. I barely made it through the first chapter, and I haven't read it since. So that just tells you how tough it is for me to read straight through a book. I do try reading through the Bible, and when I try reading through the Bible, I try starting from going start to finish, and I never can seem to make it all the way through. Barely, I barely make it through halfway through the Old Testament before I kind of start to give up. And then I got a book to try to help me with that. I got Josephus, which is also an old book, and I kind of jump around on that. And it's several of his collections, apparently. I don't see how one person could have wrote all that back 2,000 years ago, but that's the claim. And I was able to read his autobiography, which is about 30 pages, and that took me a while. And then I skipped over to one of his first books, which is one of the last books in the book. So they're ordered kind of differently. But I skipped over to that and tried reading that, and I don't know, maybe got 60 pages through it and was like, kind of gave up on that too. I'm switching back now to the Bible, and hopefully that helps me help me read through the Bible start to finish. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Very interesting. Books. We know there are a lot of books out there. And I actually read a Lee Child book, one of the Jack Reacher series. It was a pretty good book. I enjoyed it. So yes, I will venture outside of my normal sci-fi fantasy when I see a book that intrigues me. So when you're looking for books, what is it about the book itself that gets your attention? Darlene.
I think I'm unmuted. What about the book that captures my attention when I'm trying to select a book? Hopefully I got that thought correctly. Wow. I think the description of what the book is about is probably what is key to telling me whether I want to read the book or not. If it's a topic that I find interesting, as some of you might know, if I'm just going to read a book for enjoyment, I prefer like murder mystery, whodunits type. I do have a favorite author. His name is Steve Damari. He writes, in fact, he just put out a brand new book and I haven't looked at it yet. I'm a skinflint, meaning I don't like to pay for things. So I tend to find out when the books are offered for free on Amazon, because they have, every now and then they will offer some of their books for free in order to entice you to buy their books. Well, I download the free ones and I read them when they're free. Anyway, his books are, he likes to say that they're clean. They have no cuss words in them. They don't have any real blood and guts, even though they're murder mysteries. He and his working partner, they're police officers, and their job is to go out and solve these murders that have happened in their town. And I find that it's extremely interesting. Maybe it's because I'm married to a retired law enforcement officer. I don't know why, if that's why I'm interested in those kind of stories, but I kind of always have been. I like Andy Griffith and I like Columbo and I like Monk, all those on TV, those TV shows, Mannix and all those shows that are kind of similarly themed. So that's what I find interesting, but it is the description of the book that entices me into wanting to read it. Back to you, Mary.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's with me. Sometimes I'll see a book, I'll look at the cover and I thought, wow, that's a nice cover. Then I'll pick it up and read the description and I'm like, cover doesn't match, so I'll put it back. So I'm kind of picky that way. If the description doesn't match the cover, I'm not interested in the book. But if the cover and the description match, then I'm like, huh. And then I'll open the book and take a quick glance at it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I'll either get the book or I'll put it back, depending on how many books I've got going. And right now I've got 4 books going. Yeah. So I'm a reader, but only when I make time for it. The other question is, when it comes to books, if you had to choose one, what would it be? Self-help, biography, plant book, or just for pleasure reading? Jim.
Madam Table Topic Master and fellow Toastmasters and invisible guests. It's really interesting as your life changes and things change in your life. Sometimes it can be a riddle. But the most important thing, when I first started being on my own, I read mechanic books because I was a mechanic and there were a lot of self-help books there. And then when I went into law enforcement, I went into reading the criminal law books, the police books. Joseph Wambaugh was a good example of a person, an author that I really enjoyed his books. There's many other good authors out there, but you have to make time to read books. And of course, I will say the most important book to me is the Bible, and they've made it where you can read it online. But the latest books that I've been reading is the self-help books. And as you heard the fact that I've been working on grandfather clocks, working on movements. I read many books about the different movements made by different companies and how they got started. And it's really interesting that we deal with time, because from the beginning of time, we've always had a fascination with time. And it's because our time is so short on this earth, we don't even think about it, but just think of the phrase here today, gone tomorrow. That can happen so quickly. But I like my self-help books for the current projects that I'm working on. Yeah, another book that I really liked is the fact that I like reading about guns. You know, I believe in the Second Amendment, and I think it's important that we know how to use firearms. And if you're going to work on something, you need to know how to do it right. And the self-help books today are very helpful. That's what I would recommend as a self-help book. Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Okay, thank you. So I believe I have time for one more. So how about you, Greg? Any of the questions?
Any of the questions? Well, I'm beyond self-help, but that's what I'd like to read. uh, one second here, hold on. All right. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master and friends and foes that joined me this morning. You know, I don't get as much time to read as I would certainly like to. The newspaper is probably the most read thing around here, which I still get the paper copy, which comes in the mail. And I have friends that give me a hard time about that because you can read it on the internet now, but it's a great fire starter and we burn a lot of firewood around here. And that's probably the main reason I get it, but it does have some fun information inside of it frequently. Those who read the Winston Churchill, I think, said, those who read the newspaper are misinformed, and those who don't read it are uninformed. So take that to heart as today's riddle. I definitely picked up on reading more when my wife discovered Audible, which is this little man reads to me when I'm driving around in the tractor, which is amazing because it's I really don't take the time to sit down and read. I don't focus hard enough. But if I have a book that I'm really interested in, I can put it through earbuds and listen to it while driving around spraying the field or working ground. So I've definitely appreciated the Audible books. And as for the Bible, I was able to, I'm going to infiltrate everyone's questions this morning. Actually, at a very young age, I read the entire Bible straight through. And I always told myself that when I did it again, I was going to go back and get a master's degree. And I don't think I really want to go get a master's degree, but we have been picking away at it slowly. Our kids are very interested in it. And there was actually a day where we were reading a little bit out of it each day. And it was amazing how if you could give the Bible the same rating as a video or as a movie, what would you rate the Bible? So when you're reading this to your kids, you're kind of screening things that you don't want to say to them at a young age. So, but no, we certainly have one sitting around here as well. So back to you, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that is it for table topics. You guys all had good answers. I really enjoyed them. Now I will turn it over to our general evaluator.
All right. And now we'll be introducing the evaluator for Jim's speech. And we have Darlene.
Thank you, Eric, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Jim. I enjoyed your speech tremendously. I didn't know until this morning when you volunteered to take Levon's place giving a speech, what the speech would be about. And I knew when I heard the topic that it was going to be a good speech. You did an excellent job at explaining to us the various types of movements that go into a clock. And he corrected me in saying the movement isn't the clock, it is the whole thing that's the clock. Because I made that mistake too, calling it a clock. Your clarity was very good. Your vocal variety was good. You changed the inflection of your voice depending on what you were saying. Your gestures today were excellent, and that's because you showed us the movement that you were talking about. Your eye contact was pretty good. One thing I did notice was when you were showing us the movement, you were looking at it instead of the camera. And that's the only thing I noticed about the eye contact. Other than that, it was good. Your audience, we were all very aware of what you were saying, and you were aware of us. Your comfort level is always very good with us. Your interest level, today's was extremely interesting, at least to me it was. And I think part of that's because I've been watching you over the last several months, learning more and more and more about how to repair clocks and movements and everything that's inside what we all call a clock. So it was a very interesting topic. What to work on? I think you probably could have shown us more, like the containers that you purchased in order to clean the clocks and to rinse the clocks. You started out, well, you didn't tell us was you started out with just a kind of a Rubbermaid thing, and then you actually bought a container that is designed for cleaning the clocks. And that's very interesting to look at. So you might have shown that to us. I know that's difficult when you're working on a computer. One thing you could have done is to also log in on your phone and turn the sound off on your phone so you didn't get feedback, and taken the phone back to where you keep those containers and shown them to us. That might have been interesting. My challenge for you is for you to make videos of you putting together different kinds of things in the clocks, movements that you're repairing, how to fix a spring, how to fix a chain, how to, you know, a whole little series of teaching videos on how to do all of this stuff that you're learning. That would be my challenge for you to do. And I can upload that to my YouTube channel, by the way. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you very much. And now we will give our reports. And Jim, remember that your wife is always right. So.
I wish.
We'll take the timer's report from Jim.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. That's a riddle in itself when you say that my wife is always right. I'll do table topics. Greg was 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Lee was 1 minute and 23 seconds. Darlene was 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Eric was 2 minutes and 28 seconds. And I was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And Darlene votes to me for best table topics and most improved.
7 minutes and 35 seconds, Jim.
Thank you. That is a timer's report. Again, get your votes into me and I'll text them to our Toastmaster, Greg. Take it away,
Thank you
Eric.
very much. And now we have the grammarian report for Trumley.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I was your all-counter and grammarian. I was impressed that Mary has 4 books going at the same time. Riddle was the word of the day, and it looks like Jim won, saying about 4 times, maybe more, because I kind of forgot that. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to count those. And I will give the Darlene the, what's the other one? Wizard of Oz. And one thing that I want to note too is Audible is great because that's what I listen to in the morning, or listen to when I listen to the audiobooks. Lee Child is one of the first books that I listen to. And if you're interested, Libby is through the library and you can set up an account through them and listen to books for free that way, if you haven't already signed up for Libby through the library. And I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. And now I'll give my report. The meeting started on time, thanks to Greg. And we have, well, the president wasn't able to bring the meeting to order, but she was able to join us today, which is great. And Toastmaster kept the meeting going smoothly. I did, or was able to introduce my team and also allowed them to give their reports. So overall, the meeting went smoothly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Wonderful job this morning. And for that, Eric got the Most Improved Award, and Best Table Topics goes to Lee. Congratulations to both of you. And I think at this time, we start lining out our jobs and roles for next week. Darlene, would you like to help us with that?
Yes, I can do that. I have Jim listed as grammarian for next week, and I'm going to be a speaker. I need volunteers for everything else.
Jump in as timer. I could probably do joke and quote too, if you guys would like.
All right, Greg for timer and joke and quotes.
I can be the evaluator and also word of the day.
Okay, Eric for evaluator and word of the day. Okay, we need table topics, general evaluator, and Toastmaster. Mary, you're muted. I saw your lips moving, but I couldn't hear what you said.
I can be Toastmaster.
Okay, Mary for Toastmaster.
And I can do table topics.
Okay, Jim for table topics. So you table topics and grammarian.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So we
Shall we
can,
put Levon down for general evaluator?
yes, we can do that. I'll let her know that we did that. So if she's feeling up to par, she can do that.
And let's put Beth down for table topics, and I will be the backup. Okay.
Okay.
I'll be the backup. In case she can't make it, but I think she can next week.
Okay. And I know she was practicing she's been an evaluator for several weeks. She was practicing keeping her evaluations within time so that she could compete at the area contest. So I think she's still planning to compete, but she's been on time lately, so I think she'll do fine.
Okay.
So do you have a theme for next week, Mary?
Pets.
Pets, okay, that's a good one. We haven't talked about our pets for a while.
Yep.
I'm sure enjoying watching Lee's
So-
puppy dog. He's a cutie, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's a cutie. Yes, he is. Looks like they're gonna have their, you're gonna have your hands full,
yeah.
Emily.
He's pretty hard-headed at times, stubborn at times, but he's pretty good most of the time.
Also a reminder, on the 16th, Cayumawa is having their open house. And Deborah Kroon is going to be giving a speech on master gardening. So you are all welcome to come attend. It's going to be via Zoom.
That's the 16th of this month,
Yeah,
and that's at noon, right?
yep. Are there any other announcements?
Mary, now, will you send the invite out so we can log right in
To the
to
Zoom.
that
don't-
open house?
Cayumawa Zoom.
Okay, yeah.
I
Yeah,
can
I
send
c-
out
I-
the, Mary, I'll send it
Okay,
out.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how
I'll
to do
send the
that.
press release so you see what her speech is about.
And just so y'all know, one of those movements that Jim's working on right now belongs to Deborah.
All right. Okay, any other announcements?
The only other thing that I have is I'm hoping to hear from Rocky House, who is the maintenance supervisor, and we should be hearing something really soon about being able to meet in person, because as of the 12th, all masks are off. So that's the only other news I have.
Okay. So looks like it, according to my computer, looks like it's raining out here.
Yeah, the wind picked up a little bit.
So I'm going to adjourn the meeting early. You all have a fantastic day, fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Meeting adjourned.